before we begin the session. So kindly bear with us.
Of course, yeah, no problem.
So welcome everyone to this webinar on the future of blockchain and in Europe and beyond. So we'll just wait for another few minutes for rest of the audience to join, maybe a couple of 5 minutes or so, and then we will just welcome our speaker and begin the session.
The lunch break over there, Lima, at the moment?
Yeah, there's a lunch break actually.
Oh, okay.
But
It's
we'll just take around 4 minutes more so that we'll just start the session.
yeah, no problem.
We are expecting a good number of people now, so just few only have entered the room. So
Okay. I'm feeling a bit nervous now.
no. Please take your time. So welcome everyone once again. So before we begin the session, we have a couple of announcements here. Glad to issue for all the audiences here upon successful participation in this program. So you just need to fill a Google form giving your feedback for this session. That will be given to you in between. So with no further ado, let me introduce our speaker for today's webinar. Our speaker for today is Mr. Sharon Sebastian. So he's presently the leadership team and mentor at Blockchain of Ireland, and he's also co-moderator of BL Startups and founder of BOC Advisory and DApp Unicorn. In addition, he has held numerous pivotal portfolios in the blockchain and the DLT space. He also has numerous certifications from prestigious university colleges and universities, including the Trinity College Dublin, University College of Dublin, and University of Nicosia, among the few. So, welcome once again to Mr. Sharon Sebastian. The stage is all yours.
Thank you, Nalima. I'm just gonna see if I can share my screen here, okay? Just 1 second. Tell me, guys, if you can see it.
We can see your screen.
Okay. Just trying to make sure that. Okay. So can you see the first page?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Super stuff. Okay. Thank you again, guys, and good afternoon. Probably, yeah, for some of you, it's lunchtime over there, so I understand. It's kind of 8 o'clock in the morning here in Ireland. So Yeah, apologies for the awkward timing. But just a quick kind of what I'd like to kind of go through here really is um, just a short presentation on the future of blockchain and crypto in Europe and beyond. Um, I'll try to kind of keep it to say 30 minutes or so. And then I'll probably leave some time for the very end just for a few questions. And I'll try to keep it kind of on a high level. I won't kind of try to bore you with a lot of details. Just want to give you a kind of a scope of what's happening currently in the present and what's happening, what you're seeing in the future as well. And I'll touch a little bit on kind of the regulation piece. I suppose a lot of you people are interested to know, what's happening in the regulation side of things, um, as crypto is heating up. So yeah, without any further ado, there's no need to introduce myself. I think Nalima's already introduced herself. So here I'll be talking more about, like I said, the Web3 present and future, some job opportunities, how India and Europe align in this space. So if you look at here, it's kind of, I'm going to share a few charts of the current of what's happening with crypto, right? With blockchain kind of across the world, because, blockchain has no borders, right? So on the left here, you can see kind of two charts about, okay, the global daily active user count in crypto is at an all-time high, um, you know, in as of now. So it's around 18.7 million. The same figure was, 7.7 million at the start of 24. So what do you mean by global active user count? It refers to the unique active wallets interacting with blockchains or decentralized apps or a specific crypto protocol within say a 24-hour period. So these are not just passive users who just make a purchase, a token or something else, and then you know they're dormant. These are active users who are kind of active on the blockchain and in the ecosystem. Um, then at the bottom here, we have the top 5 crypto assets that have a market cap of over 100 billion. So like the Bitcoin, the Ethereums, the XRP, Solana, BNB chain, these all have 100 billion and plus, and they have a combined market cap of all 3 trillion already, right? Just to give you a bit of uh, comparison, it's not a fair comparison, but I'll give it to you anyways. The total market cap of the Indian stock market, right, is around 5 trillion. So, you know, a more fair comparison would be to kind of compare it with the 100 trillion global stock market. But what's happening here is like over the last 10 years or so, there's been almost 1,000% increase in the crypto stock market, say crypto market compared to the traditional stock market. So that in itself is a big deal. So in the next 2 slides here, again, some data, here, what can you see? You can see on Base and Aptos, Coinbase and Aptos, that you can do transactions on blockchains for even less than $1. It's not even $1, it's like a breakup of $1, maybe a few cents even, right? So that's where we are at in terms of how we're able to transact on the blockchain. So, the transaction cost will continue to go down. Obviously, it starts off high for every blockchain with the technology coming up, and it's like an alternative version of Moore's law, right? It's like hardware will start to get cheaper, and everything else starts to get cheaper as well as time goes. So that same kind of theory applies here. And this one you cannot ignore the 20 billion of actively borrowed dollars on on-chain lending marketplaces. So that's 20 billion, which is quite a lot. So, what you can see here is like people value cryptocurrencies, they hold it, they trade it, they borrow cryptocurrencies, they try and earn it, in multiple different ways. So there's we're coming up at a turning point, and I'll explain more about that. The last bit here is the applications. So applications are now kind of out earning and generating more revenue than say the infrastructure they run on, right? This is bar outside the major blockchains like Ethereum, Solana, Tron, because they're kind of quite they're big in terms of the ecosystems. So if you noticed, like probably the last few bull runs, there was a lot of investment going into the infrastructure side of things. There's a lot of new foundational protocols being built. Oh, we're going to solve the trilemma. We're going to be faster. We're going to be more decentralized. We're going to be more, secure, right? But then in this case, it's always, especially in the blockchain space, it's the first movers that tend to win, more market share because they're first to market and, they have a growth phase. So what you can see now here is the applications will be the dApps that you built on top of these ecosystems will be now the primary driver. That's where all the money is going. That's where all the funding is going. That's the driver now on top of these existing blockchain ecosystems. Another reason why is the intersection with AI. So if you look at AI, I'm sure all of you heard about ChatGPT and all that stuff. So now you as a founder or as a developer, you can, leverage AI to create apps in a few days instead of, you know, months or years that used to take before. You can test and deploy again within a few hours. And even for non-technical founders, you have no-code applications, that you can create in crypto. So it's crazy to think about. It's how far we've come. So this is something to watch out for. Okay. Now that's kind of the overview, just in terms of, some stats. Here, I just want to give you some of the trends that we're seeing globally, right? Obviously, I don't know if you're aware of this chart. It's kind of like a Gartner's hype cycle. There's always the innovation trigger, and then you have the peak of inflated expectations, where everybody gets excited about a certain technology, and then it starts moving down to the trough of disillusionment, which is like people start to lose a bit of faith, and then slowly you start to see real world applications happening in the slope of enlightenment. So you can see Bitcoin already is kind of at the plateau of productivity, and we all know why, because Bitcoin is the major asset class. But what you can see here now is starting to grow is the deepens of the world's DeFi and stablecoins and layer ones. So DeFi specifically, right? I want to give you an analogy for DeFi. So I don't know if some of you are old enough here to know about LimeWire or Napster. They started back in the 1990s as a P2P, file sharing network. So this is where people could over the internet download music from and use it for kind of free or whatever price. And this was hugely disruptive, very disruptive technology. And there was huge pushbacks from the music industry with lawsuits and regulations against piracy, and they all tried to shut down, Napster and LimeWire. And obviously, when they eventually shut it down, there's all these pirate websites coming up here, pirate websites coming up there, and then there's like the government trying to shut it down here, everywhere. It's like a whack-a-mole situation. But then, almost 10 years from then, you get Spotify, right? YouTube Music. So this is like a paid version of what Napster and LimeWire is doing. So some company from the Web2 space came in and just took over that space, and it's back to being centralized again. We can see a lot of parallels in the DeFi space, the decentralized finance space, very similar to how the music industry was at the time, because this is like peer-to-peer kind of model where you have two nodes being able to transact with each other without the need for a middleman, right? This is done by say blockchains and smart contracts. Um, with Napster, it was very expensive at the time. Say if you want to do a CD burner by HP. HP used to sell CD burners for, I don't know, nearly $1,000. It's crazy money. So until Napster came around and just destroyed their business. So DeFi in this situation is doing a similar thing because all the banks, all the money transfers companies, they're now suddenly losing a lot of ground to these DeFi protocols. So it's removing the middlemen and is disrupting power structures and creating new business models. Um, but the only difference here, right, between say DeFi and say the music industry was that the whole blockchain space is how do you call it? They're open source, right? You have open source technologies and shared frameworks that you use. So this is not something that maybe a Web2 incumbent can come in and just take over, right? What we're actually seeing is the opposite. We're seeing traditional finance merging with DeFi. So like you have all these banks now moving on to on chain. They're starting their own L2s. You have BlackRock starting to buy Bitcoin, having their own BUIDL fund for Ethereum. So you've heard about all that, I hope. So traditional finance is now merging with decentralized finance, not the other way around, like Spotify did. So DeFi started off in the Western side and everything else, but now the activity has increased by quite a bit in the sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, Eastern Europe. India not so much because of the regulations, but we'll see how it goes, right? But the whole kind of under-deserved communities are starting to really pick up pace. The other huge trend that we're seeing is the stable coins, right? So stablecoins are supporting real world use cases in, say, low income and low middle income countries. This is a huge opportunity because stablecoins are the number one use case for public blockchains as of now, right? So many protocols in the stablecoin space is fighting to be the central bank of DeFi. But the ones that are kind of expanding the most are the dollar backed stable coins, where you can cash out dollars, you can do transactions and cash out dollars without connecting back to the traditional finance, which is the banks. You know what I mean? You can actually just cash out dollars in a stable coin and then you can start transacting with other things. And it has a lot of uses. It's very fast and very cheap transactions compared to the normal spending protocols or spending solutions, right? It's like if you're a migrant worker going to another country, you want to send money back to your family, you can do this now through Bitcoin or something else. I'm not saying it's illegal, but that's what's happening right now in other countries. It's a hedge to inflation. Like in Argentina and Venezuela, their money is worth less and less every time. So they protect their savings by investing in Bitcoin, for example, right? So things like that, and they even make payments to other people. They interact with each other. They sell goods and services using cryptocurrencies. So there's a lot of use cases for stablecoins. And the last bit, I won't go into it. It's like an integration of blockchain into all the different industries. It's not just finance now. It's supply chain management, healthcare, real estate. It's all coming as part of this trend. Um, so that's kind of a high level of where we're seeing right now in terms of global trends. You have the DePINs and gaming and all that, but that's only slowly coming, starting to come now. Okay. Now, guys, before we go to the next phase, just a quick ചെറിയ disclaimer കേട്ടോ. അടുത്ത സെക്ഷൻ കുറച്ച് boring ആവാൻ സാധ്യതയുണ്ട് because ഞാൻ I'll be talking about my car and regulation and all that. So try to notes ഒക്കെ എടുക്കാൻ പറ്റുമെങ്കിൽ നോട്ട്സ് എടുക്കുക. പക്ഷേ കുറച്ച് കോംപ്ലക്സ് ലാംഗ്വേജസ് ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ടാവും. So I won't take too long, but I'll try to keep it as high level as possible. Okay? Hopefully it will be useful. So the crypto regulatory landscape, right? the crypto regulatory landscape, what I'm trying to say here is everything, there's a turning point for everything. So when it comes to technology, there's different, throughout history, there's a turning point every piece of technology. And that turning point comes through, say, regulation, right? And policy making. So up until now, it was like the wild, wild west. Cryptocurrency was wild, wild west. Everybody's saying it was used for illegal activity, it was used for this and that. And then suddenly the phase at which it grows so fast, the governments can't ignore it anymore, and they have to put in regulation and policy. That's what makes it a legit asset class now, right? It's a real thing that people have to deal with. So this is good for me and you. So if you look at the regulatory landscape for the United States, you have Bitcoin ETFs happening with BlackRock and everybody else. You have very clear regulatory frameworks like MiCAR coming into Europe, into lesser degree Asian nations. You have Singapore and UAE creating supportive regulatory environments to attract blockchain business. They are one of the top places for blockchain. So quickly going into the European regulation impacting crypto. So other than MiCAR, which I'll go to in a little bit more, there's a few other ones that you need to be aware of. So you're probably aware of GDPR. It's more about data privacy while operating transparent permanent systems, right? Third one is the eIDAS. So this is basically establishing trust, excuse me, and interoperability across EU member states, right? It's not easy to kind of identify and authenticate and trust services across the different countries in the EU, but you have a shared protocol, that a framework that you're able to use, which is eIDAS. Anti-money laundering, it's all about balancing good level of decentralization and anonymous activity while tracking illegal activity. So this is where on-chain analysis and those kind of skills come in. And the Digital Services Act, which is not that kind of relevant, but still, it promotes transparency and competition in decentralized systems. So those are kind of like the top 5 European regulations that you need to be aware of, when you're trying to get a job or when you're trying to move here or try to, develop apps or anything like that in Europe. So in the next kind of, the few slides, I'll focus on kind of MiCAR, which is Markets in Crypto Asset Regulation. And I will kind of talk about some of the things, key considerations you need to think about from a job seeker perspective, and maybe as a founder, right? If any of you have those interests. So basically, it's a standardized legal framework. The good thing, the implication for you is, it's a stable regulatory environment, which will boost, blockchain innovation and job opportunities. So as part of this, you have kind of, even in Ireland, you have the Central Bank of Ireland creating sandbox, environments for people to go and build their apps. That is, within the MiCAR framework. If that's the case, these sandboxes where you can actually go and test and build your apps with the support of the central bank. So this is where it's going right now. It's to start it off, but that's where it's going. So building a crypto company in Europe post MiCAR, yeah. I won't go into all of this, but some of the main things that I would talk about is, the compliance and the documentation challenges for startups. This is a bit of a challenge because, you'll need significant resources to meet the compliance requirements even before you start trading, right? So it's you have to get white papers and talk about your crypto offerings, very detailed disclosures. So it's not a small task for a startup, starting up in Europe. But it's possible, and you'll have more success here because of the, like I said, the regulation that you have here, and the cross-border potential, the frameworks that you have here to spread your product, quickly scale your product across different countries. So in this case, it's like a chicken and egg situation where, oh, you need a lot of funding to be able to even start trading because you have to, be compliant. That takes me to the investor side of things, right? Again, this clarity in regulation will attract investors, but there are going to be investors who might be a little bit scared of losing money, or who are risk averse. So in this case, you as a founder, your goal is to show them, right, that you understand these hurdles in depth, you understand what's happening, and you have a roadmap of steps that you're going to take to overcome these challenges, right? When you show them that you have a plan of how you're going to overcome these challenges, that just inspires confidence in the investors. It's all about inspiring confidence, right? So that's the important bit. Another kind of key area is DeFi. DeFi is still uncharted, unfortunately. So, they don't directly address DeFi. So it's, startups are still kind of navigating. Had a few examples in Blockchain Ireland startups bootcamp. We had one there, a couple of months ago, and they had a lot of questions around, the solutions that they were trying to. They were trying to provide some DeFi loans, right? How does that work? So, and there's no clear answer to it. And this is still an evolving space. There's a lot of regulatory bodies talking with the government and vice versa, the European Union, and highlighting these gaps, where there's problems. And, it's like a feedback loop where, they'll give them feedback, start improving the law. So it's something to be aware of. So those are kind of the big hurdles. But like I said, again, regulation brings clarity for innovation. So it's not a bad thing. So that's for founders. This is more for developers and job seekers, right? I won't go into too much of a detail, but what I'm trying to say is, in terms of MyCar, how enterprises are, managed is within the 5 different frameworks. So you have the regulatory, financial, governance, technical, reputation. So it's good for you to understand this stuff and how it impacts your job search, right? So, if you were to go and apply for a job for a company in Europe, it would be good to do a bit of research on this, maybe ask some questions about this to the interviewer, things like that. So do you have a crypto asset service license, right? First of all, um, so as a developer, you can always make sure that there's you're integrating, say, some of the regulatory safeguards for your dApps, especially when you're developing this on a particular blockchain, right, in Europe. So, is there any financial implications? Are they the tokens correctly classified in the ERP systems? You know what I mean? There's big talks about it going on in America, but it's kind of clear here. Governance models. So it's more about, okay, what kind of consensus mechanism does it have? Is it a hybrid? Is it private, public? Is it like proof of stake? Things like that. You need to kind of understand, and what's the implications? Is there any geographical restrictions? So those are the kind of things that you need to make sure. And then the technical challenges, is there any third-party risks? Are you, especially around custody of your tokens or your assets, is it in-house or is it out? What kind of interoperability solutions are they integrated with? What kind of bridges they're integrated with? What kind of data availability solutions did they use? What kind of scaling methods do they use? Are they in line with MyCar? So these are very important things that you need to be aware of. So otherwise, you're going in there and you build something and you realize it's not MyCar compliant, and they might just leave the country. And if they leave the country, you're just left with nothing. No job. You're left with no future. So especially in this space, don't just jump at any opportunity. I know it's very easy to jump at opportunities, but yeah, go with something with reputation and ecosystem support, right? I've heard some of you go to, opportunities to go to Hedera and all that stuff. These are reputable blockchains, Ethereum, you know what I mean? So that's where you focus your efforts on. So those are kind of some of the challenges and considerations for founders, but these are some of the opportunities, and it's quite, straightforward in the sense that, look, again, pro-innovation policies, you have, initiatives from EU, like the European Blockchain Services Infrastructure, Horizon Europe, which is a funding mechanism in Europe that gives you grants for research and development. So if you're like, going into, say, universities or into, incubators, and you're doing a PhD in a particular area, or a master's in, DLT, for example, you can always apply for grants, and they're quite, open to, providing these kind of incentives. And then on a country level, you have these startup incentives, grants, that you can make avail of. What I would say is, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, always make sure you just apply, get your foot into the door. It's all about just making yourself known, right? When I was applying for grants and getting these grants, I didn't get it the first time. I had to apply. Maybe, they tell you, okay, you failed. And then maybe next year you come back again with a little bit of progress, showing that, okay, this is what progress I've made on the startup. I'm looking for, money on this, and they already have you in the system, and they know you have like a track record of history of you building. So you're not just a newbie coming to, scam somebody, or things like that. So they're very careful about it, but that's one way to do it. And then you have, ecosystems like Berlin, Zurich, Lisbon, Dublin. They provide accelerators, networking opportunities. There's many places there. I won't go into details here. Now, the talent pool and collaborations, right? I just saw a report, I think, recently, that in the last kind of 2 years or so, Indian blockchain developers have had the biggest growth in terms of the number of developers, coming out of any country in the world. So India has been at the front in terms of the blockchain developer space. And why is this good for you? Because in Europe, we've seen the least amount of growth, like around 3%. So there's an opportunity here for you guys to, take a leap and fill that gap in Europe in terms of the developers. And these are high-paying jobs, and once you get a bit of experience, you're high-paying jobs, and big opportunities for doing your own startups and things like that. Okay, so that's kind of the opportunities for founders in terms of job opportunities for job seekers. I mean, this is the usual, but these three here on the left, the zero knowledge contract engineers, these are a space that's gonna, start getting big. GDPR, you need zero knowledge proofs, zero knowledge contract engineers would be an area of big interest for a lot of blockchain companies. Security research analysts, right? This is where you have big hacks. You've heard of these hacks before, and they just keep growing. Crypto chain hacks and scams, and it's only keep growing over the last three years, and it'll continue to grow as long as these ecosystems develop. So security research analysts and engineers, they're big demand. Now, the other area as well is the on-chain analyst, like an investigator. It's like I said before, managing illegal activity, being able to understand the flow of money on chain. So now you have transparency of all the funds that's gone moving through the world, because you can actually find it on, say, Token Terminal, or you can find it on Dune Analytics and things like that. So having those skills is kind of like a base skill that everybody needs, at least on a high level, understanding what to look for, where to look for, where's the money going, what's the implications. Okay. Yeah. And then on the kind of key skills guide on the right side here, non-technical, it's more about, say, I'll talk about tokenomics, because, token engineering is a different thing to, say, understanding tokenomics. There was a lot of interest in token engineering before. But, like I said, a lot of funding has moved away from infrastructure projects to applications. So what that means is there's not going to be a lot of token engineering now happening for, say, a lot of companies, because there's not going to be a lot of more new blockchains that's going to start coming in. So it's a good understanding of tokenomics is a useful skill to have. But you don't need to go deep into the whole token engineering aspect. Even token engineering is such a big area that one person is not usually able to, have an understanding of all of it. It's like, economics, but in different aspects of economics, along with finance, and I won't go into it, but it's useful to know. Um, Blockchain hubs in Europe, you have Germany, one of the biggest leading ecosystem. Dublin, Ireland, it's all about innovation and job growth. It's one of the only English-speaking countries in Europe, right? That's why it has a lot of growth. And then Zurich and Zug, Switzerland. This is where all the kind of the big startups, blockchain companies started, right? In Switzerland, it's interesting because each kind of city or their town in Switzerland are in itself like a country. So they have their own rules, their own laws, and if you were to come in there, the community there in that city has to sign off on you being part of the community. So it's a very interesting area of Switzerland as well. If you were to focus on kind of pure blockchains. Okay, so that's kind of job opportunities. Here, I want to quickly just give you kind of a list of startups here that in Europe that kind of raised funds and actively looking for people to work. So these are kind of actual Web3 job opportunities, say mostly in the DeFi space, blockchain infrastructure, wallets, analytics, NFTs, interoperability, and AI blockchain, right? So if anybody's interested, probably this is like probably 4 months old, but still, they raised a big funding, and it's worth looking to them in terms of jobs and things like that. And believe it or not, you have Web2 companies hiring for blockchain jobs. It's not just Web3 companies. All of these companies here are looking for people either as an intern or as a in work experience, or as a kind of engineers. Um, they're building solutions in blockchain, so it's interesting to be aware of. Okay. Okay, so we're nearly to the end now. So all until now, I was kind of mostly talking about kind of the present and what's the law and things like that. Here I'm talking more about kind of what's coming in the future. So this is a little bit more from Outlier Ventures. This is a thesis, and they've done big interviews with a lot of the top founders in the crypto space, and this is kind of the consensus that they've arrived at, right? So it is something that you need to be aware of. Of you might already know. So here it's the future is the post web, right? So users won't just read, write, and own, they'll delegate. So I'll talk about delegate a little bit, but in Web3, in Web1, sorry, you had access to information, like you've never imagined, right? And then Web2, you were able to kind of contribute and share content like we're doing now, right? This is, the social media era. The Web3, which is currently that's ongoing, is the where digital assets, like anything, cryptocurrencies or your skills, whatever presentations you put out or whatever videos, this is all ours to hold and trade and control, right? That's Web3 for you. And then you have the conversions between Web3 and post-web. That's the transition phase. But then what happens in post-web is essentially what they say it is you will eventually come to a phase where you have AI and you have blockchain that will kind of combine together. And you've already seen ChatGPT, which is an AI agent. So you'll have AI agents that you will delegate your tasks to, and they will go on the blockchain on the internet and do things for you, right? So that's where they're saying it's going. So I won't go too deep into it because it's still kind of 10 years away, probably faster given how AI is moving so fast. You know what I mean? So as you can see, there's a synergy between AI and blockchain, and um, they have the synergy here is their shared relationship with data. right? So both AI uses data and blockchain uses data, but in different ways. As you know, data is like the new oil in the information era. So here, when you see what is the challenge with each of these stacks, right? So with the AI stack, you have a really nice front end, right? Really nice front end is very useful to get people to use it, um, but it's connected to a back end which is old school, which is like web, centralized data storage like Google or Microsoft or Amazon or whatever, and it's there's issues with data security, data breaches. There could be hallucinations of the data, misinformation, privacy concerns. Similarly, blockchain has really enhanced backend data integrity, right? With the DLT technologies and all that stuff. But the front end is really bad. The user experience is just horrible, right? And people are trying to, abstract that as we go, but it's still a dilemma. So you can see the weaknesses in both blockchain and AI with regards to data. I mean, for example, uh, there's only 5% of crypto world using crypto today out of the whole world. Um, and ChatGPT on the other hand, just I think it was like 100 million active users in 2 months since they launched. So 100 million active users, the fastest ever for any startup to get to 100 million in 2 months. So you can see how proof of how they're, where the challenges are. So, the solution is to join forces, right? So if you were to look at here in the data value up side of things, like, you have the value chain of data. You create data through Internet of Things or through ERP systems, things like that, and you store the data. There's a possibility to store the data now with blockchain technology and then extract value out of the data through AI, right? So this is where you can see those two synergies starting to connect. And if you were to, on the right hand here, you can see, so if you were to have an AI enabled front end, which is not like a search. So think about it, apps, right, will kind of in say 5, 10 years start to disappear. You won't have the usual search engines anymore. I don't use that much of Google. I use still go Google, but I use a lot of ChatGPT as well for my kind of research purposes, right? But that will become more and more and more this way. You have, things that you talk to now in your house. So, oh, Siri, do this, or Alexa, do that, right? So that's where it's going. So you have an AI-enabled front end, and then your blockchain-enabled black back end, which will be a combination, which is basically like a winning combination. So that's where it's going, and there's already examples of that now. But yeah, that's, just to give you an idea of what's happening there. And there's obviously like nearly 200 companies as part of Outlier Ventures that are focused on building the infrastructure around around the AI and blockchain synergy. So they're focused around the cryptographic, enhanced AI, decentralized resources like marketplace and infrastructure, and AI agents. So I have a link here. You can go click on that link, and you will have a list of the 200, nearly 200 different companies that work on this space. I don't know if there's jobs over there, but it's worth researching them if this is an area that's interesting for you. Okay. And just to note as well, like obviously there is almost all the big layer ones like Ethereum, Near Protocol, DAO, ICP, they're all doing upgrades soon to allow these AI agents to work in the future. So they're all on top of this train as we speak. So to finish off, guys, what I want to really say is, look, there was a lot of information, a lot of things to cover, and especially for you guys as you're finishing up your colleges and stuff, or you're kind of trying to look for jobs. What I would suggest is, I've already spoken to you about the opportunities and threats, right? What's happening out there, what are the challenges and things like that. Now, what you need to do is have an internal evaluation of what is your strengths, what keeps you awake, what things keeps you, interested in this space. Is it just money, or is it more than money, or is it something else? What are your weaknesses, right? That's an internal analysis that you need to do. So spend some time trying to map out what's your strength and weaknesses and see if you can identify what's your path, right? Would you like to just work as part of a company based on your strengths? You like people telling you what to do, to give you certain tasks and you like to do them. Okay, so you might be better off in a company. You like to build projects. You like to build things. You're curious. You might be a founder, or you're very strategic. You might want to build some experience, right? First in companies, and then gain a bit of network, get your skills in order, and then you want to start a business later on. Family gets in the way, whatever it is. So you define your own path, is what I'm trying to say here. Um, so, when it comes to your path, again, building a career is very important. You've already done some, certifications here. I've heard, and it's impressive that you guys are what you're doing here. But it's not only important just to have the certifications, it's important to share them, right? So building a strong LinkedIn profile and sharing your work and journey is very, very important. And I can help you with these guys if there's any questions, if you want to go into any of these subjects, not only LinkedIn, any of the other subjects a little bit deeper. I can do more research and maybe go another another webinar or something maybe in a couple of months time. Because it all depends on Alima and Arya. So if you guys like me, no problem. Um, so that's one area that you need to focus on. Get your CV in order and everything else. I'd also attend blockchain meetups and hackathons and participate in internships and boot camps. Even in Blockchain Island, we had boot camps that connected new startups with people, just finished their, college or masters or PhDs, and it was huge help for both ends. Startups got a lot of help with the things that they wanted to do, and the boot campers got a lot of skills and understanding of how startups really worked. Um, so it's a very useful opportunity, and you get a lot of networking opportunities and things like that from that as well. Migration to Europe, it's pretty standard, guys. I think a lot of you know this already. Maybe if you don't know, is there's the opportunities are kind of straightforward. Internships. If you can get with startups and things like that, that will lead to full-time jobs, right? Or work visas, or startup visas. There's startup visas and incentives as well for people, high skills. One of the best ones that kind of worked for some people was the higher education. Where you do. A program here in college, and then get a scholarship if you can, and then try to get a job, apply in here. So there's going to be some language different barriers and some cultural differences, but that's something that you need to consider when you come to, say, European countries. Okay, so that's the end of that. So I'll probably stop sharing, guys, and you know leave it for everybody to for any questions that you might have. Just have time for maybe like, a couple of questions. And eventually I'll send you a document or something, guys. And if you have any detailed questions or things that you'd like for me to cover, you can give it there. But yeah, Nalim, if
Yeah, thank you, Sharon. There is a question in the chat. That's which industries in Europe or Ireland are currently leading in blockchain adoption?
so which industries in Europe?
Yeah.
So it's like I said, right? You're seeing in Europe more around kind of healthcare, supply chain management, um, real estate. Those are the areas that you are seeing more growth in because it's more kind of Web2 style. DeFi and stable coins, just be aware. Like I said, DeFi is uncharted as of yet. So it's still ongoing, but there is, it will soon be clear. But then stablecoins, since MiCAR came into effect, a lot of stablecoin companies, shut down their operations. because they're not following the regulations. So there was only, I think, one stablecoin, euro or something. I don't know exactly, but there's only one stablecoin that's actually following the rules, so they are allowed to operate in Europe. So stablecoin companies, for now, I would stay away. But if you see new stablecoin companies that are within the MiCA regulation, go for it because stablecoins are huge. DeFi is huge. But yeah, to answer your questions, it's more around the supply chain, healthcare, energy, right? Those kind of areas.
And there is another question here in the chat. That's what advice would you give to job seekers aiming to build long-term careers in Web3, given Europe's regulatory and technological landscape?
It's a very broad question.
Shall I repeat it once more?
No, I would say it's a very broad kind of question, so I wouldn't be able to give you like a full answer. You know, it's all about building networks, guys. Honestly, I mean, even my opportunities in blockchain came through my network building. Events like such as this, what they're hosting, showing up here, asking questions, making connections on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is very powerful. Just don't you misuse it with AI, share your work and then connect to as many, have a list of your, ideal people that you think, you probably hear this a lot in YouTube or whatever, but it's true. That's how I got my opportunity with Blockchain Ireland as well. I got a list of people that I wanted to interact with all the time, just 3 people or 2 people, and I kept interacting with them here and there, not in a really weird way or anything like that. It's just putting useful comments in, and it's a lot of work, but sometimes you think it's not worth it, but after a year, you start applying for some of their events to help out with certain things, and then they start to see you everywhere, because your name shows up everywhere on social media. Wherever they go, it's just you. Oh, I know you, this guy. It's like, oh, you're a friend now, even though you've never met each other before. So that's what I would do.
So participants can also ask to the speaker directly here. If you're finding anything difficult in unmuting yourselves, then you can paste your comments in the chat. That would be better.
Guys, I have like 5 minutes before I have to run. So, like I
Okay.
said, if there is questions, definitely I can take, another session, or you can give me the answers and questions and I can send that over to you. But yeah, please.
Can we go for another question in the chat then, Sharon?
Of course, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there is one question saying, can you mention some good European universities providing master's degree that can be a point of entry to the European Web3 job market?
So, University of Nicosia is a good one. They're one of the oldest universities, first universities to provide blockchain uh, things, but they are not. They're kind of European, but you have to see if but they're one of the best ones. But then you can always do, you'll have to do a bit of research. But there's a lot of universities in Dublin that gives, master's degrees in this space. There's a lot of them coming up now, especially in Ireland.
Okay, there is another question that is they're saying there's a speaker who's saying that the companies are asking for more than 3+ years of experience for any so for there is any chances of job vacancy for freshers in Europe, and what should be the roadmap?
Startups, I would say, right? Like I said, boot camps, if you can get into it, getting involved in hackathons, helping out with the virtual hackathons, showcase your skills during these hackathons, boot camps, to startups, and then they might have connections to other startups that could say, okay, word of mouth, this guy is, oh, actually he knows what he's talking about. I've seen people from our boot camp get jobs just after finishing the boot camp, you know, they because of how well they did. It's about just showing up. It's not just about showing up. It's about actually putting some work in for free, because everybody puts in work for free in Web3. It's life. Um, so I think that's the way.
Yeah, okay. So is there any, can we take one more question or
Yeah.
is it, yeah. So there's a question on, can you share examples of Europe projects where AI and blockchain are being successfully integrated?
Yeah, Quant is a good example, in the banking system in the UK. I know it's not part of Europe now, but that's where it started. Energy Web is another one. They have implemented their, energy kind of tracking, DLT systems across a lot of places in Europe, actually. So they're expanding everywhere. Their technologies are quite, interesting. So those are the two things that come to mind right now, but I'm sure there's lots more. So I mean, it's something that I'll need to take away and do a bit of research and come back, guys, to give you an honest answer.
Okay, thank you so much, Sharon, for your time, and we respect that you have to leave for in a couple of minutes, as you said. So, thank you for sharing your insights and and it was a truly informative session. So we wish you all the best for your future ventures, and we also look forward for further collaborations. We definitely need your support and assistance to move forward and inspire many other young generation to come into this blockchain ecosystem.
Yeah.
So thank you so much once again. And for the audience here, please fill out the feedback form so that we'll be glad to share with you the blockchain enabled certificate.
Yeah, and guys, please just be completely transparent with your feedback because I just want to know, I don't want kind of, nice words. I want, critical feedback. And so if you can provide that, and I'd like to hear that as well, Nalim, if possible.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay, talk to you soon. Take care.